you don't need to look at people as being homeless. You need to look at them as a soul. You don't need to look at what they have on or where they've been or necessarily what they've done, but you need to give every person you meet a chance no matter what they look like.
I think people have a really hard time empathizing, and I might be completely wrong, but the way I see it is they're not able to shift their brain back those few steps that could maybe put them in that same situation. You know, take it, resident had a great job at Amazon, had a stroke. That resident lived paycheck to paycheck prior. And so that resident was homeless then, doesn't have family support. Maybe you or I would be lucky enough to have somebody that would take us in until we got back on our feet. Not everybody has that blessing. And I think we tend to forget that, and that's a problem. So it is our problem to help.
Since 2015 to 2020, the cost of a one-bedroom apartment in Chattanooga went up by 80%. In that same time period, the average income of one individual only went up by 12%, right? The federal government says that people should be spending no more than 30% of their income towards housing. The reality is a significant portion of Chattanoogans are spending at least 30%, if not more, of their income towards housing. We would call those people spending more than 30% rent burdened, and there's a direct correlation between the increase of people in your community that are rent burdened and the increase in your homeless population.
I guess we started working in the homeless community a couple of years before COVID hit, 3 years before COVID hit, I guess. And all of the organizations, there's so many organizations that help, but there was no real cohesion. And there was something about when COVID happened, all of the different organizations surrounding homelessness came together, and everybody's talking now. And we all have certain strengths, you know, and some of you are government organizations and some of you are nonprofit. And there's a lot of people that are just, you know, like basic citizens like Josh.
Hello, I'm Joshua Capellish. I'm an advocate for homeless people in the city, unsheltered citizens of this community. This community, this city of Chattanooga is full of great people. Brett, back where he got attacked by dogs. His hand was infected, and I brought him out of there. I couldn't leave him. It's a wingman concept in the military. There's another Marine right there. We got 2 veterans right here. We can do better, Chattanooga. And I know that we can become the first city to solve homelessness, but we can't do it alone. We work together. And I will not stand by while my friends sit out there in the cold. Today was probably the smoothest build we've ever had. We've got level ground over here, reasonable access so we can actually build. We were able to stage our materials, have our tools centralized. You don't have to be an expert out here to build one of these tiny homes. Basically, use hammers and nails and put it together in a way that's going to be suitable for people to live in, at least get through this cold, harsh winter. We've still got snow on the ground. We're building, temporary emergency shelters out of pallets to keep people safe, dry, and warm until, the government or whoever can step in and get people out of tents and off the streets. So that's primarily where our focus is to use the least amount of materials and spread out what we do have and build the safest, best structure we can as quick as we can, because it is a humanitarian crisis.
Hang on to this, James, just a minute. I'm going to get one of the claws too. When we were driving up here, there was a whole bunch of tents, and they looked very flimsy and not so great. These are not so pretty, but give people a sense of pride, and you don't have to have a lot of red tape or bureaucracy. You just dig in and do it. It may not be pretty, but it's a lot better than they had, and it gives them a sense of hope.
So cost is our primary constraint in building these homes. Since we just started out basically on our own with no funding, we just used what we had. So pallets are free, they're strong, they hold up to 2,000 pounds. And then the plywood is also part of a pallet that we take apart. And so what we've been able to achieve is building a house in roughly 2 to 4 hours for about $200, but that $200 includes a fire extinguisher, smoke alarm, and CO2 detector, which essentially doubles the cost of the house. and it's a critical part too. I think the sense of security is the most important thing, because people can store their clothing, their belongings, and food, and protect what little they do have from other people and the weather. 5 of my friends that I've known have died out there in less than a year. So, if you take that into normal context, you would look into that issue. I think if people had friends like I do, and they had 5 of their friends die, you might want to figure out why. And if it was the same issue, they're sleeping outside in the cold, then there's no reason why we shouldn't be building.
My fear and our fear in the city is these structures that are being built. There's no oversight to who's going in and staying, and people can be locked in a variety of issues. I absolutely get that the people who are on the streets need a safe place to go that provides them the stability, but the answer is to do it in such a way that we're not inadvertently harming those people. And we are literally within days of the city opening up our own sanctioned encampment location, and the plea really we have had with Josh is just wait a little bit until we can get this up and running. We can do this the right way to set people up for success.
I totally understand where he's coming from. He's got a really big heart, and he's obviously a very compassionate person.
You need to be open for compromise.
Yeah.
I mean, compromise is really important in the whole process.
It's hugely important.
And just knowing that there's so many different avenues that you can go. I think what's important is that, we constantly remind each other when we're working with others, like we're all after the same goal here.
The issues and the dangers that these structures present themselves is, they're essentially a tinderbox, right? We're already having issues with fires in locations where there's not this kind of management, this oversight. A lady that I know from my street outreach days was burned so bad in a fire in an encampment, she had to be airlifted to a hospital in Georgia. I still don't know what has happened to her, honestly, and I think about her often.
I would challenge anyone who says that our houses are dangerous to go sleep on the sidewalk and then sleep in one of our houses. They have fire extinguishers, smoke alarm, and fire detectors, which most people's homes, they probably don't know where those things are or could reach them.
Whether you have a house or not, our job is to protect life and property. We've had individuals where they've had small generators. They're storing gasoline inside these tents and these structures. We actually retrieved about 10 propane cylinders off of fork trucks that they use on loading docks and things of that nature. Completely different way the gas is utilized in those. Really and truly, that catches on fire. They're not going to be able to get out of these things. And this has happened multiple times down on 11th and 12th Street.
Just got one more step and then you get to come home. Yes, ma'am.
My pastor used to preach a sermon, and in his sermon he said, we complain to God all the time, right? About like my arm hurts or my leg hurts. But think about the person who has no arms, who has no legs. You know what I'm saying? And that person is not murmuring and complaining. There's always somebody that's got it worse. We have no one. Some of us don't have family. Some of us have nowhere to go, nowhere to turn to. We need you, reach out. Reach out. Reach out, be there, reach out. We're people just like anybody else. And this is love right here. The way y'all found me and the way, honey, I feel the love in the air. I feel the love in the air. Y'all are angels. Y'all are angels.
You are an amazing person, you are stronger than me, and you inspire me to be a better human being. So thank you for giving me purpose. As a veteran, this is my mission, is to care for people like you. You're not forgotten, you're just as important as anybody else in this world. We're doing all we can. Thank you. Thank God, right?
We've had a lot of conversations with Josh. We've had a lot of conversation with the fire marshal and Josh to really express our specific safety concerns about his structures. If you look at them, they're just literally plywood with some framing. They have a door that has an external lock on it. And there's not really any oversight to these locations. You know, Josh has just kind of made them and left them. I get where he's coming from. I get his heart. Again, like I've been in this industry for 8 years now. I've seen it. I know these people. I know their struggles. But that doesn't mean that we can give them solutions that could be harmful to them, right? The thing I always say is, if someone's drowning, you don't want to throw them a life jacket that's faulty that could cause them to sink faster, right? Like, we as the people that are providing the help must evaluate what we're doing to make sure it is safe and it is effective.
Essentially, I have been issued a no trespassing order for the encampment that's been set up where we've been working on the perimeter. Again, these are temporary emergency shelters primarily for the winter to keep people out of the coldest elements. Now we're in a sort of middle phase here in spring, so nobody's dying. I take all the credit and responsibility, and at the end of the day, I think you have to stand up for what you believe in, right, wrong, or indifferent, and do what you feel is right. And I sleep well at night. I'm not afraid, and these are our people. We love them like friends. I mean, they're just as much my friends as they are anybody else. So I think about them like family. I know these people by name. They know me. They know my car. I wave at them. It's just brotherly love, sisterly love out there, and you can't break that bond. And no matter what they do, I guess we're still gonna keep up the good fight.
The mayor announced recently the $100 million affordable housing initiative over the next 5 years. $33 million of that are coming from the city year one out of our upcoming budget. And so that is going to be a fund that funds all kinds of different projects, not just for people experiencing homelessness, but for people who are living in poverty and middle income folks too that are looking for a place that is affordable for them to be a part of this community. Really, it's part of this overall continuum of housing needs that our community has. People experiencing homelessness are just the very visible expression of a housing system that is not affordable for people, but we at the administration want to create options for people over the wide range of income continuum for people in need in our community.
We really recognized how large a role the lack of affordable housing plays in homelessness, not just here, but globally. We kind of started thinking bigger, like what more can we do other than just give somebody some clothes or a tent or something? What else can we do? And so we started researching a lot.
Seattle was the first city in the United States to open a homeless encampment over 21 years ago. So we thought that's where we needed to go. So we've been there 3 times. They created this kind of seamless, streamlined process, so to speak. We're really looking into transitional living situations into supportive permanent housing and how to help that in Chattanooga right now, since none of that exists. The city reached out to us about a year ago, Chattanooga, and asked us about some of our research and said that they had interest in opening a homeless encampment. What did we kind of figure out while we were there? Would we be interested in writing a proposal? And so we did, and in May of this year, we opened one.
I think the biggest thing the camp offers is safety and security, because they don't have to carry their stuff with them anymore. They're like, because most of the time they would have to take all their stuff, even pack their tent up because it'll get stolen, and they don't have to worry about that.
And they can sleep at night. A lot of them were saying they had the first night's sleep they had it in years.
As far as the camp goes, they have their little dramas and their little spats and everything, but they're really learning to live in a community and gain skills, working in that way that will only help.
Right, and take on ownership. Yeah. That's been a beautiful part of the camp, is seeing them just kind of take on ownership of that camp and their space. There's constant reminders to us when we're doing this together and working together that this is what we're supposed to be doing right now. So it's been a really beautiful process.